Well, you can if you want. They don't give a shit. They don't even watch the podcast anyway.
No, they just turned off.
I have, yeah.
Have the spiders?
What? Why spiders?
No.
What you say?
What did you? What?
I know what happened there, but I'm not intervening because it's
You
great.
watch the podcast?
No, I said they don't even watch the podcast. The spiders.
Oh, the spiders. I thought
And you said I do, yeah. I said I do, yeah. You're not a spider.
I know. Yeah, no,
sorry,
welcome back to Everything from Nothing. No, we're here now. It's okay.
Yeah, we're here. Welcome.
Right, yeah, go on. No, what were you asking?
No, I was just saying. No, I wasn't asking. I was just saying.
Oh, yeah, we're joined by Evelyn Roberts. No, sorry.
Oh, yeah. We are. Evelyn.
Second episode. Now you can go back, right?
Yeah, no.
Into the conversation. Bang.
Lockdown. You were a highlight of lockdown for us every day. We loved it. Yeah, in our house, in the Ryan family house. My mother used to love it, so I'd say hello to my mother.
Hello, yous, mammy.
Yeah. So we used to watch it every evening, you and your daughter doing different things in the garden. It was so much fun.
It was just a disaster. It was just something like that. I had to keep her entertained constantly.
Yeah.
I was losing my own mind, like, do you know what I mean?
We were all losing our minds, and we enjoyed it. Like, she was funny though. She was like your sidekick and stuff.
Yeah,
you okay?
She's my
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're okay.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
What is it?
She is. Oh, me, because I'm vertical challenged like that, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I think to do that.
No,
sorry.
Are you all right?
No, definitely. Jesus Christ, it was. Sorry, didn't
Yeah, you're all right. You're allowed.
So we did it anyway because I was like, okay, a week. Surely to God, this is now a week now trying to keep the child entertained. And then it rolled into like 20 days, and I'm like, okay, this is just ridiculous. And I was running out of ideas. And then we ended up learning sign language, which I started learning sign language again yesterday.
Yeah?
Yeah. So for the thing for Pink next weekend. So
what's that about?
Sign language.
No, like the thing for Pink.
No, the thing for Pink.
Yeah.
So we booked Pink back in 2019 for 2020.
Wow.
What's a band is it or something? I'm sorry, I have no idea.
Tribute act.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
We're getting a little bit excited. The real Pink.
I was like, oh, yeah.
No, not the real
Get her
Pink.
on.
So it's Laura Tapp. She's English.
That's cool.
She's England's top tribute Pink act.
Yeah.
So we booked her back in 2019 for 2020.
That's class.
And then of course the COVID, that was just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah,
but she stuck to her word and she's coming next week.
Ah, that's really cool.
So some of my friends, I went down to Women's Weekend down in Cork there, the last bank holiday weekend, and oh my God, to say it was one of the best weekends of my life was just amazing. But I met some friends, they're deaf.
Yeah.
And I know a little bit of sign language anyway. So a friend of mine here from town, so I sent her some notes. So she sent me back videos showing me how to sign. So when they come up next weekend, I'll be able to sign my introduction to them.
Can you teach us something?
I can teach you the first part of my little speech, if I don't pick it up. So it's basically hello, hello, and then welcome. No, welcome. Yeah, welcome here tonight.
Yeah.
Especially friends who have travelled.
That's good.
That's fair play.
I'm very proud of myself for that now.
I know some gang signs. It's not really the same thing, but but it's not the same thing at all. But I'd love to know how to actually do
that's universal language. I think a lot of gang signs.
Yeah, it is.
I always find it mad with sign language as well that it's like different countries. There's no standard between like different countries that like you'd have to learn like American sign language, Irish sign language, English sign language.
Different. Oh, it's totally different.
Really?
Different in every country. Yeah.
Totally different. Totally different. Because I asked one of the girls that I had met, I took a crush this woman down in, she's deaf anyway, but she had a cochlear implant, so she was able to hear me, like, and I didn't realise until she turned, and I'm like, oh, I feel like a right Egypt now, like, she said, you're fine. But I asked her, I said, would you help me? I said, and she said, why don't you just ask the girls? I said, the whole point of it is have as a surprise.
Yeah.
So, so when they come up next weekend, I will be doing sign language for them.
That's class.
Yeah, so it's good, like, you know.
And next weekend, so where are you going?
Next weekend, so it's all kicking off on Saturday.
Yeah.
And it's in Mrs. Crooks.
Lovely.
Mrs. Crooks. I was calling it something else for ages. I don't know what I was calling it, but it wasn't Mrs. Crooks. But it's in Mrs. Crooks, and the doors open at 7:30. Yeah. And we have a drag act, and we have a pink, and we have a DJ. And we have a few little surprises along the way.
Wow.
That's cool.
So, so I can't wait for it. It's going to be
cool.
great.
And this is in honour of Pride, is it?
It's just raise funds for Pride. That's really it.
So it's Pride Month now, is that right? In June?
It's Pride
Month.
Are we
in June?
Officially, it's officially
Jesus
Pride Month
Christ.
is officially
No.
June. Yeah,
Okay.
it's officially June.
From the start
But
to the
it
end.
varies
Okay.
everywhere. It varies everywhere. Like some prides are held in September, some are August, July, June.
Yeah,
And they go
yeah.
on from there. But ours just happens to be July because obviously we try not to have the pride and the same as everyone
Of course,
else. You know
yeah,
what I
it
mean?
makes it
But
better.
it's getting so big now. It's starting to clash, like, and it's trying to find,
That's really interesting. Yeah.
you know, so-
There's only 4 weekends in June, so if you're trying to do a different date that other big towns or cities in Ireland are doing, you're going to have it's in June. Like.
Yeah, so I have one. We have a room. The 16th of July. I'm going to Mullingar. It's their first Pride. He's actually was our host for the last 2 Prides.
Okay.
And so he said, I'm taking a leaf out your book, like, and he is just amazing. He's fantastic. And he's doing Mullingar Pride. And they actually have, I don't know if you watch EastEnders, they have Heather from EastEnders.
Oh, I know her.
Hosting it.
Yeah,
So it's going to be
that's
great
right.
crack. Yeah.
random.
And that's the 16th and 17th of July.
Why
Then-
Heather? I'm curious. Is she connection? Is she like?
I
into
have no
LGBT?
idea. I have no idea. For someone that's starting out, like, he's just made Mullingar explode.
That's cool.
It's his first Pride, like, and he's just made Mullingar explode.
That's
like,
class,
you know what I
fair
mean?
play.
He's really good, like, you know what I mean? So.
It's kind of yeah. Could you explain to the folks at home, like, this is maybe a generic question, but like, you know, what is Pride Month and what's it all about?
I suppose for me, anyway, personally, I suppose it could be in different things for everyone. But for me personally, it's just about being accepted of who you are. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't actually really come out to any of my friends. I literally just had a big Pride parade, and then next thing, it was just like there was 300-400 people behind us in the parade, like, and then I never knew that Evelyn Roberts was gay. Like, you know what I mean?
That's mad.
So I didn't. So, but for me, it's just about acceptance and your friends and your family accepting you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you just be who you want to be. Like, it's not flipping rocket science. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not hurting anyone. I'm not doing anything to anyone. So for me, it's definitely about acceptance and just being who you are. Like, you know what I mean? We shouldn't have to have a parade.
No.
Everyone's like, sure, geez, we don't have a straight parade. Do you know what I mean? But like, do you get ridiculed with comments? You know what I mean? And all that kind of stuff. Like, no, you don't.
And even
you
if
know?
there was a straight parade, no one would show up because, like, you know, it'd be kind of, I don't know. Like, if you just, I don't know.
Just walk through the town, like, you know what I mean? Well, you don't get any like ridiculed for being straight, like, you know what I mean?
I think it's nice for the kids as well to see it. Like,
100%.
I remember the first one, seeing all the little kids there, and I just thought, that's nice. Now they're not going to be bigots, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're not being
100%.
they're not being indoctrinated into hatred.
Like I like you said earlier on, like, I have 2 kids of my own. Like my son, even before I even came out, and the more I think back, and he made little like, snarky little comments, like, I think he nearly even knew before I did.
That's mad,
And you know, and he was only like 13, 14, 15 at the time, like, you know. And I remember turning on the television, and this thing that they were watching YouTube, and had a student at the time, and I was like, they went onto YouTube, and my channel came up, and I thought it was private. So I was like, oh, how do I delete now? Because like I said, I'm absolutely useless at technology. But it was actually public. And next thing my son said, Mammy, so why are you doing, like, just be who you want to be, like,
That's
you know what I mean? So, and then my daughter's the same. She accepts it. She totally understands and is explaining when she was going to school during lockdown, when we all had to still wear the masks and stuff. And she had a little mask with Pride on it. Like, so they were all asking, like, why are you wearing? And she explained, like, you know what I mean?
Cool.
So the little girl the next day, one of theirs, I think that you're great, like, you know, and I support you, you know what I mean? I started bawling, sure, I was going to bawl all together, like, so it was great. But it's about acceptance. I think it's just about acceptance. And like you said, for education for the future, the kids don't need to be flipping ridiculed for, you know, being gay. Like,
I remember going past, it was the vocational school, and seeing the Pride flag there, and I just thought, God, how nice it is that times have changes.
Jumped in there straight away. They are one of the best schools in Thurles, and I don't care what anyone says. They're one of the best schools for inclusion in Thurles. Every year there's without fail, they have stand up, they have the, you know, the rainbow crossing, they have the flag
Fabulous,
flying high. I've been inside the school when it's stand up week. They messaged me back in 2019 saying, you know, we'd love to help out and whatever. And I've been, and the whole place was just rainbow. I think they're just absolutely fantastic.
They kind of do that stuff when it's needed rather than waiting till it's not needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm sure everybody, all the schools, when it's actually not needed anymore, they'll all have the flags up. Why not put them up now?
But it should be like their inclusion, like you were saying, like I find it, do you know what I mean, mad when I even saw, like we were talking about TikTok earlier on, like when businesses just come out with like say, oh look, just post our logo with the pride, you know, emblem around it, like for the week, and then take it down and whatever, have that, and that's all fine, and do you know what I mean? But it shouldn't have to be. It should be like all the time, supported all the time, like, do you know what I mean?
That's what you're saying. Our logo is all year round.
Beautiful. That's
all year round we're supporting. We're not taking it down after June.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. But it's definitely 100% one of the best schools in Thurles, and I don't care.
Do you know what's interesting though? I think about, like, I ask why is that, and like it's the only. Am I right in saying it's the only secondary school that I've seen put up the flags in Thurles?
In Thurles, yeah. In Thurles, yeah.
So is that anything to do with, I wonder then, like it's also the only school that's boys and girls. It's mixed. Like, so I feel like a lot of Ireland's, like, because I've been to 3 different schools. I was in that school, I was in another school in Thurles, and another school in Bursley.
Yeah.
And, you know, some were mixed and some weren't. And the level of having to hide who you truly are is much higher in schools where it's you're with where it's just guys.
Yeah.
Or from what I've heard of schools that are just girls, it's the same thing of, like, there's a real different type of openness. Like, I remember when because I went to another school that was all boys, and even through the whole primary school, then I became, like, real nervous to talk to girls and stuff like that. So when I was in secondary school with girls, I couldn't believe how, like, which was that school you're talking about?
Yeah.
How much crack. I was like, the guys and girls are talking together.
Yeah,
I spent years my whole life where, you know, we just didn't talk to each other. It was really weird. And I feel like that has a lot to do with just the general openness and being comfortable with who you are. And stuff, like.
Absolutely. Like, and I think that, like, I went from an all-girls school, secondary school, let's say, in Thurles, and then I went to the vocational school. I've no problem saying it was a vocational school from a different school, and like that, I was so nervous, like going into a mixed school, I didn't have a clue what was going on, and I'm like this is kind of cool, like, you know what I mean, like, you know. It was definitely one of the best schools in Thurles.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Like, what, I don't know, what I'd be interested to talk about, like, what is it about, like, first of all though, like, isn't it, like, I see, am I right in saying, I could be wrong because I'm so stupid sometimes, like, a lot of times, but like like, it seems that, like, the parade has, like, or not just the parade but the month or the sort of movement of LGBT, like, and stuff like that seems to have, like, evolved in the sense of, like, it doesn't, like, am I right in saying there seems to be, like, it's become nearly more of an acceptance of who you are, that, like, you know, if you're straight, you can also celebrate, like, you know, or just say, like, you know, when you're queer or any of these other added terms where it's become less about just being, like, what sex you're into and more just a general, like, like, who you are, like, as an expression.
I think that there is I don't know if that was the right word, stigma on a lot of people that are just, and I think I actually said it in my first interview, a lot of people are just not educated about the whole thing, like, you know what I mean?
Definitely,
and that's why even in my own family, like, you know what I mean, my mom was more accepting than my dad. If I'm gone off topic now, let me know, but my mom was more accepted than my dad, but my dad wasn't upset for the fact of me being gay. My dad was upset for the fact of, like, oh my God, is she going to get hurt? Is she going, you know what I mean? That kind of way, like, you know, and now he's fine with it, but it took him ages to understand it. So for me, it's about understanding the person, like, you know what I mean? So
my argument, sorry,
I was just saying you can't blame him either, because
absolutely.
It was just like, we were all sheltered from everything.
100%. It was like, lift up the carpet there and brush it underneath there, like, we don't talk about that, you know, that's it, like, you know what I mean?
Isn't it wonderful? The more we understand each other, the more life seems to be happy and more interesting. People that you thought were contrary before or whatever, or did all issues, once you kind of open things up, everybody becomes more relaxed and happy. There's
no shutting him up now, like, you know, if I bring someone home now, like, I, like, there a few months ago, like, I brought a friend for a few drinks, like, you know, and she came to town, like, And my father was up straight away, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, I'm so mortified. Like, you know what I mean? But back then, like, he wouldn't even have dreamt of like approaching any of my friends. You know, even just my friends in my girlfriends. You know what I mean? Like, but now it's just it's a lot more. I think it's about just educating people that like, you know what I mean.
So would you say, like, what do you think? This is like maybe a strong question, but what do you think like makes someone like homophobic? Do you think most of it's just not understanding, or do you think there's
100%? It's 100% for me. Like I just said, my dad was scared. Like, you know what I mean? My dad wouldn't want to be emotional by the best times. Like, and he'd be like, "Oh, throw a $5 in the car there. Now you're all right. I'll buy you a drink," or you know what I mean, something like that. He's not one for showing his emotions. Like, but now like he's totally fine, and I just think it's just for people to learn how to understand.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? People in general, like, you know what I mean?
Like what you're saying is, I always say that as well, is like, you don't, I feel like the second someone, like, you see this so much in Ireland, and like I remember like there's a lot of cases where like someone might be homophobic like against it, and then when they come across that someone that they love is like gay, bisexual, whatever, when anything that they were against, but they love that person, then all they're like, wait, what? Now they fall into this thing where now they can understand it, like true love, like, because even though they were against this thing, like they know they like this person, and that's more important than what they're against. So now it's like this sort of inroad into understanding it, like so I feel like anyone who doesn't understand it still today just hasn't someone close to them that they're aware of yet.
It's definitely that happens on like a regular basis, and now that it is 2022, like, you know what I mean, it is becoming more open. So when someone finds out, oh no, my daughter is trans, or my daughter is gay, or my son is trans, or whatever it may be, like, you know what I mean, until it happens to them, like, you know what I mean, they might have even been homophobic themselves, like, but when they start to see the transition of their child or their friend or they're a close person to them, like, they suddenly realize, like, actually this isn't as bad as I thought. I don't know what I was talking about in the first place, like, do you know what I mean? So it's good for them, you know what I mean, to see it transition. Definitely. If you like, you know.
Well, and I'd ask myself, like, because it does seem like, because even when I was younger, like, you know, people were really like, and, you know, even myself and all, we were all very horrible to each other in, you know, calling, like, people were calling me names, I'd call, you know, it's like all around, like, I don't, like, you know, using it as an offensive thing, like, and it was so normal.
You'd use gay as an insult rather than a description of what gay was. Like.
Like people calling an object gay or something just never made sense.
That's so gay, like.
And it was so normal, and everyone did it, and if you didn't do it too, like, you know what I mean?
You weren't in the
like,
cool club.
Yeah, you're in this. But what I find really interesting is that, like, the collective has changed, and I was like, always ask myself, why has it changed so quickly? And I feel like one of the biggest reasons is, like, the veil of the fear of God and like has lifted in Ireland, like, you know, like, it's like this whole God fear, and that, like, even parents who loved their kids, they still found it hard to accept because they feared God and what the Bible said about
the religion.
Even though the Bible never really said anything bad about it. People just make that up. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's a lot.
I think they're trying to push it back in now, because all over town there's like a repent. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't know.
Oh yeah.
You know that wasn't in the Bible. What they said was in the Bible.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, I don't read the Bible. I'm not going to lie. Have you?
I read the Bible a lot. I love the Bible, and it's all about love. It's like it's about accepting.
I have heard what you said. Like, I haven't actually went through every page of John 16 or you know what I mean, or whatever. But I haven't.
But like, there are scholars in the Vatican who say that was not, like, they go through all the different translations, when it was translated and where they dropped the ball, and they know that. They know that for a fact.
It gets into where you get.
So you'd wonder, where did it come from then? Like, where?
Oh no, it is a mistranslation.
Isn't it something?
Where did it come from? Like, so someone obviously started a trend, if you like, or whatever.
Is it something like it was a language problem? It was a
language barrier thing.
No,
translating, it was all like Hebrew.
It was a poor translation. They show you the original text, then they show you the next translation and they show, it's like Chinese whispers.
Yeah.
I read a whole article about it.
But isn't it like the thing of, like, doesn't it come from the whole thing that was like the crime or the sins of Sodom or something? It was given out about how God basically destroyed Sodom because of their sins. But I think in the original translation, the sin was something to do with, like, greed or like something else. Sin, and it eventually became like that. They were like, oh well, like, like Sodom, because like I think somewhere in Leviticus then it mentions about he who lies with a man.
That was it. That's the bit.
Yeah.
And like people then say, oh well, that was the sin of Sodom, and like that's why I think that's where the term sodomy came from, and sodomites and all that. Like it came from the Bible.
I actually got a text from my thing the other day, yesterday about that. He who lies with you. When you said that whole scripture, like in
that bit. That's the bit. That's the bit that's mistranslated.
Yeah, because that does. It's Bible is all symbolic, and the whole Bible's missing. It's all symbolic. That's the whole thing. It's like Irish mythology. It was all written like, and even there's like records, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the four of them, like all of them from the get-go, none of them even claimed that Jesus was real. They just claimed like that Jesus was a representative of love and all this. It's all symbolic. And when you have like the man lied with another man, like that's whatever symbol that is. You know, like W.B. Yeats, he's a poet.
Yeah.
When he says the crow flew over the lake, and he's not talking about a time he saw a crow flow. He's talking about something deep rooted inside him that he's trying to express. And
metaphorical kind of thing.
And so you have a mix of a misunderstanding of people's symbols, along of trying to translate Hebrew into English.
But that man lies with man is just a mistranslation, and you can there's a whole references, and you can read the whole thing, go back along where they dropped the ball.
That's mad.
It was something to do with man lying with man who is related to him, and something.
Yeah.
It was just a pure practical thing.
So someone really should go up and out to the Pope and like challenge the whole
No, the Pope would agree with that.
Yeah, the Pope, like a lot of people, even the bishop, we had the bishop.
I think it was the Guardian or something. It's the last one I read about, and they were saying, why don't they come out and say, just show, like they have never publicly said sorry about that.
Yeah.
But if that was the case, then if that was the case, and it's not in the Bible, and it's not against anyone being who they want to be, shouldn't same-sex couples be able to marry in a church?
No.
I think so.
I researched.
If it's not, do you understand what I'm saying?
100%. But this is the thing: is like what the misunderstand. Like it was a mistranslation, but the problem was history is written by its victors, right? So like 2000, like as time changes, there's thousands of different versions of the Bible.
Yeah.
And then you have. I have like 3 or 4 different Bibles that I look at, and there's the one that like my sister was given in the Ursuline convent, and then there's the one that like you'll get in a nice bookshop in a lovely cafe, and they're both saying the same thing except the words are all translated. And you read one, you would read the Bible as this was written by the devil, and the other was written by someone lovely about love.
Yeah.
If you research that about them, I wondered about that as well, and I researched it.
Yeah.
The church weren't involved with weddings at all.
Yeah.
Until they had financial problems, and that sacrament only came. It's pretty modern of marriage. It was a legal thing. Marriage was a contract like buying and selling your house. It was done by the state, not by the church.
Okay.
And the Vatican, the church realized that they were short of money basically.
Yeah.
And it became a sacrament and got involved in it. They only got involved in it not
for financial.
Well, if you read up on it, why they actually got involved in it, but they're not involved in it in Jesus' time. Like, it's quite modern. Like,
yeah.
But I guess your question though is still, but even like, why can't people still get married? Like, why can't And like, I think it's because that energy of like that, the people who writ the versions, who took the thing that was originally written with love and just telling people be nice to each other. That's all the Bible ever said. And then someone. Because the history is written by the victors, and there are evil people who won in history, and I think the Catholic Church was at one stage, I'm not saying it is now, but at one stage I think it was an evil entity or whatever you want to call it, an evil business, and it changed the words so that people would put money in baskets, so that people, and do all that thing. So I think it manipulated what the Bible was saying for its own
people misconstrued it, you know what I mean? Yeah.
So now they're in a situation where there's lots of popes or bishops who actually do want to change and would. Yeah. Like we've had like conversations with certain people, and they do want that change, but they've explained like
you can't split the church basically.
Yeah, it's a really weird thing, and just sort of that's what I'm saying. The Catholic Church.
But two things do change. Like we've got rid of purgatory and we got rid of limbo and
only a few years ago too.
Like do not watch Stranger Things. Like there's a middle world there. Like you know what I mean?
I believe there is. I think there is.
It's definitely there.
And then I was looking. So you get different versions of things. So you read that about the church not being involved in thing.
Yeah.
So then I was looking like in the Bible, where can I find the thing? So like if the wedding feast of Cana, where like he turns the water into wine and stuff. But it's more of a bystander thing of something happening rather than being the actual.
I feel I should go out now and buy a Bible now, because now I'm learning so much now. Like
this is the thing, you have to buy the right one.
Yeah,
That's really tricky. Like
I'd be getting the one with the nice illustrations and like the pictures.
you find the one where there's red, where
there's loads
the
of colours
texts are highlighted in red.
You're right. And if you look at the one in the
James.
hotel room, like there's something about aliens and stuff like that. Is it the Gideon's one?
Yeah, there's
loads of bizarre stuff in that.
Yeah.
The original was
A sci-fi Bible.
Just,
Pretty much.
just I would be careful. The ones, to be honest, most of them are actually weren't. Like the translations are going back to, even when we talked to the bishop, he's talking about they're constantly trying to, translate it to adapt. He said the goal is from a good place is that they would adapt it and that they would change, the words so that it can be spoken in these times. The reason it changes all the time is because we can't speak like Shakespeare now anymore.
Yeah,
so people need to be able to understand it. But the problem is when they pay all these people to translate it to a modern time with modern words, these people might be against these things and they go, oh, what if I, put this word like
so
this.
now in the next maybe 20 years is going to be new modern Bible. Yo,
Exactly.
what's up? What's happening?
What's the story?
There's the thing with post-structuralism that meaning changes anyway, right? So if we all spoke whatever language they spoke when it was written first, it would still be, and they said nobody changed it. So I'm not being a bit hard on them saying they translated and messed it up. The meaning actually changes all the time, and that's a fact. From like post-structuralism. So
Definitely,
So every day the meaning changes. What like COVID or Corona, like for instance, Corona's before the outbreak of the Corona thing, that was great. It was abandon a drink, and now we think of coronavirus, and so meaning is constantly changing.
Come near me, like you know what I mean? Yeah.
But it's really true, like that. Everything changes.
Exactly. COVID has changed
that's
everything.
A positive thing, like
I suppose we're just more aware of everything now, like you know what I mean.
Because
so
it's not
a bad thing.
Yeah, because I do think like that's the answer. Because I would also understand. My instant thing is to get really angry at the things that are against progress and stuff like that, because it all triggers our own stuff in it. I definitely learned, like I started looking at stuff because I was totally like against God, the Bible, like I hate going to church, like just real. And I still like, but then I was like, well, I needed to look at why I was so against it, and looking into it, then I go, all right, maybe as I looked into the things that I dislike, I start to see how there could be solutions and a relationship formed between the things that dislike each other, like whether there's a fight against the church, and like somewhere in everything, in every argument, the two people are saying the same thing, and you have to try and find that echo or something.
The middle solution. The middle solution. Yeah. But you're definitely right there. But I think it's definitely down to understanding and key. Our education is key. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
How do you what do you with Thurles specifically, like where you're at now, like what's your plans? Like what would you like to see? Because I think it's definitely harder to get people to open up in a town like Thurles to this stuff than Dublin. I mean, it's just because of the small town, harder to get people to get out.
But I think even part of that is like in general for expression, it's hard in Thurles, like
very hard.
Like it's so, like someone in Cork or Dublin, like even aside from like sexuality, sexual identity or gender identity, it's like even just something simple like wearing like a mad t-shirt, you can do that in Dublin. You do that in Thurles, and suddenly you have a nickname. So like never mind trying to come never mind trying to come forward in Thurles with like your gender identity, because it's just
definitely. I remember when I was
I can't 17, even wear a Lady Gaga t-shirt in Thurles or something like that,
Sure. When I was 17, sorry, got across there now.
No, you're okay.
Sorry, when I was 17, I lived in a place called Dunshaughlin in Meath.
I went on holidays there as a kid.
Did ya? Yeah. Jesus, I don't know what you saw up there, but anyway.
My cousins.
I worked for this place called The Vortex, and I was out one night and I met this guy, and I don't know, I can say black guy. He was a black guy, but this black guy ended up being my boyfriend anyway for about 6 months. So the first time I came home from Dunshaughlin to Thurles, and so I don't think Supermax wasn't long open, to be fair. And I think it was only open like 2 years or whatever. But the looks I got, it was like literally back then when I was younger, at that age, you wouldn't see a black person from one day to the next, and holding hands walking down the street like with a black guy was just like,
that's
do you know what I mean? Like, and the eyes you got, or I went into Supermax, and that's where I remember going into Supermax, and the looks we got into the pub, and then my father, as mad as he is, like, and we were down in Dempsey Square, and they were all, the boys were asking, I walked into the pub, and they were like, I don't know if I could say this now, like, but they were like, well, is it true what they say? And I'm like, I'm going to stop you right there, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But definitely the looks you get. And even it hasn't really changed that much in what I'm saying is it hasn't really changed that much in that stretch of time. Like, you know, I'm 42 now. Like, that was back when I was 17, and still people are trying to accept that the world is changing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, for them. So when I did Pride back in 2019, I got some queer looks, I'm not going to lie, like, you know what I mean? But I think since 2019, it has transitioned a little step, you know, which is great, like, you know what I mean? Like the flags are going up and stuff, and you know what I mean? So it's good, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely think the narrative, like the feeling is nearly like, you know, even when you do get like some of the, like, you know, the traditionally Irish people, I feel like even when they're like, I don't understand it now, they're not just like, they're not saying go away, they're going, I don't understand it, but work away.
Yeah,
you know, at least it's getting to that.
I can't picture like that you'd be uncomfortable in toilets, like, as in I think
I'm not now.
I'm
not.
I don't think you'd change
not
it.
one bit.
I don't think you'd act any differently in New York toilets or anywhere.
No,
you do whatever.
No, not since 2019.
That must be great, is it?
No, it's a great feeling, like, you know what I mean? When I did the first Pride back in 2019, and my mother never said, like I said, never really said anything. She's like, oh yeah, you know, you're going to have a great time or whatever. So I passed, and we started the parade and whatever have you. And we passed Tesco. So my sister and my niece were outside Tesco, and they were like, and just the makeup started running off my face. So then we got to our local, which is Skeins. Shout out to Skeins. So I got to Skeins anyway, and my mother, my two aunts, their friends, and some of their other friends were all outside Skeins. And they were just waving to beat the band.
Class.
And you know what I mean? And that, even though it wasn't said in words, that motion alone was enough to say, like,
That's
fair
class.
play to you. You did look, ye hung, like, there was 6 flags coming from your building, like, alone, like, you know what I mean?
I
So
remember walking up the square and just seeing 2 guys crying on the side of the street, you know, and I just thought, like,
really?
wow, older guys,
God.
And I just thought, wow.
Yeah.
That's nice for them to see that their
really,
hometown now is welcoming.
A girl I know at the time came home from England to come to Pride, and another girl that I know lives in Drogheda. She's from Thurles originally. In Carroll, they used to have a pub here in town.
Oh yeah, I know her.
And she's Edel. And I met her on a random night out in Drogheda a few months ago, and she said, "Do you know who I am?" Like, and I could see I knew the face, but I didn't know the face, if you know what I mean.
I remember her in school. Yeah.
She messaged me the other day and she said, "We're coming down for Pride, so it'd be really nice to see them." Like, so they are coming. And the first Pride, like you said, one guy was home from Australia, another guy came from England. Do you know what I mean?
I met a retired guy from England there, and like, I just thought how his life has changed from, he would have left Thurles in the 60s or something.
Yeah.
And
it's fantastic.
You know, he was probably worried about retiring home to Thurles or whatever.
Yeah.
He probably thought, Jesus, grand.
Yeah, it was grand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You do see, and I have seen older generation. Excuse me, burping now. Older generation people around Thurles that are from the LGBTQ community, like, so I'm hoping that this year, like, everyone will come out in their droves. I don't care if you're flipping 5 or if you're 75. Do you know what I mean? Come on a way out, like, do you know what I mean? It's a day to be accepted, and it's your town, you're living in it, like, you own it, like, do you know what I mean? So yeah, all is good.
I remember the marriage equality referendum or whatever, and giving out flyers, you know, place I won't say where we're giving them out, but I remember one thing that struck me was these 2 different houses beside each other where they said, oh yeah, course, and look, Mary's brother is gay and he's over in London, you know, don't say anything to the houses, you know, say nothing about that. And then I went to next door and it was like, Tom's brother is gay and he's over in London.
But you see,
but they start saying that to you, like,
the amount, and like, the amount of people
don't talk to each other,
like, your neighbours, like, for God's sake. But the amount of people that I have met that have fled from, not specifically Thurles, but in general, like, that have fled from their town and their hometown just to be accepted. It could have only be Cork or Dublin, even Limerick, like, do you know what I mean? Say nothing about Limerick, I'm only joking. But it's they just to be accepted and to go out and just have a nice night out with their gay friends, in the gay community, like. It shouldn't have to be that they have to flee from their own town, like.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
What's interesting though as well is like, I actually think you said last week about a friend who had in the podcast, like he had to go to another country and nothing to do with like LGBT or anything, just like now he's shining and he's like found himself, but he couldn't do that in Thurles. Like, because I was friends with him when I was younger. And I hadn't seen him in years, and now he's like thriving, and it's like he like blossomed as an individual, like, just because he got out of there and he felt like he could try things. He felt like he could try and fail. He felt like he could, but you can't. You know, it's very hard to do that here in all capacities. Especially.
I think it's like it's hard if you don't like find your people and stuff. Like, it's like if you find that right group, then you're fine. So I remember, like, even just for example, like I remember years ago when I first started to realize like I was bisexual and I tried to come out to someone, but they were the wrong people, because as soon as I did that, like 2 days later, someone else I hadn't told was like, oh, I heard this, and I had to backpedal and play it off as a joke, because it was like, oh god, this is horrible. But then I found like my friend group now, and like literally the only reason I came out as bi to them was just I was very well on, I'll put it that way, like, and I ran out. I was very chatty and I ran out of things to say. So I was like,
there's an awkward silence.
So I just came out. I came out as bisexual, and everyone was just like, oh, grand, yeah. And conversation just moved on, and nothing ever changed. No one ever treated me different.
Never flinched. Yeah,
so
all right, boy, whatever. You know. And that's the way it should be. Like,
who cares should be the sort of reaction.
That's the way it should be. Absolutely.
So I think it is that thing of like, if you're lucky enough to find your people in your hometown, that's fantastic. You can have that comfort of just being. Okay.
And that's I suppose the whole, like you were saying, what is a pride? We're just trying to find people that want to be with their people. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like I said, if you're 5, if you're 75, come along. Like, you know, we have a coffee morning once a month. Yeah. Like, I know it's not much, but
is that in the Green Sheep?
We have it in Deja Brew now.
Deja Brew, okay.
The Green Sheep was closed, unfortunately.
Oh yeah,
but we have it in Deja Brew now. It's once a month. Like, you know what I mean? We actually have it next week. It's on the 18th at 4:00.
Yeah.
So we just encourage like kids like from the LGBTQ community and their families just to come on. It's literally just to sit down, have an old chat, like have a cup of tea, have a coffee, and like that, and you learn from that. Like, do you know what I mean?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
You just learn from that, like, and I just give them maybe links to support that I can't give, because I can only give so much, support. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not a counsellor or anything like that. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. But we do encourage them, like, come along, like, and you'll see what's going on, like, you know.
Yeah, it's like at the end of the day, you're like providing a safe space where they can be themselves and resources then going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I never looked at it like that.
Yeah.
But you
know, like that's kind of what a lot of pride is. It's kind of the whole thing of like, look, this is a safe space to be yourself.
Absolutely, yeah.
Even if you like afterwards have to hide it, if you're in that awful position where you can't be yourself, at least for that moment, you can have that safe space of like, I'm me. And you can get that release.
Absolutely. And that's what I was saying. I see a lot of the younger generation like trying their best to come out, like, you know what I mean? And you see it on a daily basis in town, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, we're here to support you, and that's why we're here, like, and that's why it's so important for a small town like ourselves, like, to show, like, you know, we mightn't have flags everywhere, or mightn't have flags outside every pub or shop or whatever, like, but we are here, you know, we are here, like, don't be afraid to contact us, you know what I mean? So
that's really
good.
Cool, like,
it
was good. The first parade you had on, the colour you had everywhere, all over the town. And to me, that made it feel like a great town. Like, didn't it? Like that.
It was fantastic. I didn't actually, and I'm not going to lie, we only had about 10 flags ourselves, and we gave most of them away, you know, to people to show support. I was working that day, and next thing I finished work, and I was like, it was 4:30, and I was like, I had to go home, get the makeup done, get the whole lot, and next thing, the town was just flags everywhere.
Cool,
and that was thanks to a friend of mine, Eddie McGuinness from Dublin Pride, and he has a thing himself called the Outing Festival. So basically it's like a matchmaking festival for people in the LGBT community he has once a year. He's had it now for a few years, and he came down with the van and everything, like, and he has all the big flags from Pride. He just painted the town, so shout out to Eddie, thanks a million. Cool. So like, because our funding is very low, and I funded most of that that first Pride myself. Do you know what I mean? And from like donations, like from around the town, like you know what I mean. So it's not easy, but you know what? At the end of the day, like if it changed one person's life, it made a difference. Do you know what I mean? You know, so it's
even
good.
like if I walked up town like and seen all the, just say I was an alien, didn't know what LGBT was, I would go to town, and if I seen a town with all those flags, I'd be like, oh, this is the place, because that flag to me, like, you know, as in what the rainbow or what the spectrum, it's the spectrum of light. It's the entire existence of what everything we see right now is within that, like within those 7 colors, absolutely everything. And to me, that's like wholeness, completeness. And so even if like the LGBTQ never had to exist because everything was fine and everyone was always accepting, like I feel like you'd need, for whatever reason, those colors everywhere, because it just fills in the greyness of Ireland. Like even what you were saying, Hugh, like it changed Turles, was like just having those colors on their own is just something about it. I felt like, oh, here's life.
Yeah,
to me, that's the 7 colors of life.
Yeah, it's bright. It's accepting. You would look at it like, you know what I mean? We have to get a few new ones now, like, but they serve their purpose. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's good. But so it's just it has come a long way. Like we had a Pride. We didn't have a Pride obviously in 2020 because of COVID. We were allowed to have one last year. We had it up in the dog track, but we could only have 100 people, and it was fantastic. You know, we had a parade. There was only about 20-30 people in it, but we still had it. You know what I mean? So it was roasting hot, and we had entertainment from club in Neenah. They were fantastic down in the AstroTurf down in the park. Yeah, they were amazing, and hopefully they'll be able to come again this year. We have I don't know if I'm allowed to announce it now, but sure. Sorry, Mary Kate. But we have a thing called Pride in the Park this year. So it's basically like, it's on a much smaller scale than yourselves now, lads. But it's basically young artists from the LGBTQ community. And they have like maybe a 20-minute slot to play some music. Lovely. And we have a bouncing castle and face painting and stuff like that. And just a bit of music around the place.
That's really cool.
And a parade, obviously. And then it goes on to our nighttime event. Then hopefully Mrs. Croak. So it'll all tell now this weekend. Lara's been brilliant, very supportive now, to be fair to him, like, you know, and John. We have our posters up in there, and I have some posters out in the car. I'm just put them up anyway. But anyway, they'll be around, and you can get your tickets from on eventbrite.ie.
What are the tickets?
€15.
Lovely.
We can put a link in the description below.
That'd be fantastic.
So just click the link in the description or the comments. Just look at the comments. There's a link there. And you can click that and you can buy tickets.
Yeah, that'd be cool, because I'll have to get Mary Kate to send on the link now, or you'll have to find it.
I'll find it.
Or you'll probably figure it out yourself. But on Eventbrite there is a charge. I think it was €1 or something like that. There might be $16.50 I think on Eventbrite. But you can get them from Mrs. Croak or from myself or from anyone in Tipperary Pride, like, you know. So so it will hopefully we'll see you there, and it's going to be great next week, so I can't wait.
That's
the other thing about all this is it's really good for economics and the local economy. Like the first one you had was
actually just thinking that
I think it was nearly 400 people we had at the parade, and when we started off the parade I thought there was about 50. And I was like, this is brilliant. And the photographer and your manager looked down and said, you stop a minute. He stopped me at Imps and Elves at the time, and he stopped for a minute and to turn around. And I was just flabbergasted. And then you see the picture. I was a Paddy, I can't remember his name. And Eamon, or was it?
No,
I can't remember.
Paddy Loughnane.
Paddy Loughnane, I think it was. I can never remember the names. And when you see the pictures, like someone took pictures up from Yang's down, like the whole of Baker Street was full. It was just fantastic.
That's cool.
It was just fantastic. So so hopefully we'll be bigger and better this year, and we just want to make everyone to be included.
That walk up the square, wasn't it? It was just
electric. It was electric. All the businesses were out, you know what I mean, clapping, and you know what I mean. It was great. I'll never forget. It was 5:15, I think it was, and by the time we went up to town and everything, like it was 6:15, I think. It was fantastic. It was just an electric vibe, you know what I mean? It was fantastic.
I had a cousin in England. She was going, you did what? In Turles? Picture in 1970s or 80s.
Yeah.
She'd be right.
Yeah.
But no one come out and stop here.
It's a common misconception. We're definitely moving on in the times, like, you know what I mean? We're definitely moving on in the times. And we were so grateful, and I was so nervous. I mean, like, I nearly shat my pants. You can bleep that for it out. But anyway, I nearly, because I had 3 things. One, was I able to, would anyone come?
Yeah.
And sure, that the march spoke for itself. 2, am I able to go to pay the axe on the night? Because we were literally only run from what we made on the door and the tickets from Eventbrite. That's all we. And 3, was there going to be any hate crime or anyone hurt or anything like that? Because, you know, people are coming to celebrate and they want to hold their partner's hand or they want to kiss their partner, you know what I mean, in public, like, because that's the whole point of having Pride, like. Yeah. And all were ticked off, tick, 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 we're all good. Do you know what I mean? So it was great, you know what I mean, at the end of the day, like, you know, so it's happy.
Yeah, fair play to you having the courage to do it. Like,
I was scared shitless, I'm not going to lie.
Like,
if I went wrong, it was my fault, like, you know what I mean? As you know yourself, holding a big festival, like, do you know what I mean? I was shitting myself, like, do you know what I mean?
Like, back to the whole doing anything in the town where there's like, you can get away with doing something wrong in Dublin because you won't be ridiculed because there's probably some lad half naked running down the street. There's nothing weird up there.
There's something else going to happen in 2 minutes, like, exactly. You know what I mean?
But here, like, it's like you don't want to fail. Like,
front page of the Tipperary Star, all goes wrong, like, and I'm like, oh my God, it's
all goes
like,
wrong.
You know
what a head.
I love that. The flip side of that,
I want that someday.
The flip side of that is when it goes right, the high is way higher.
Exactly.
Yeah, we got a huge 2-page spread in the Tipperary Star.
That's
I was
good.
not expecting it. Like, there was pictures everywhere and it was just fantastic. And it all went up on Facebook and do you know what I mean? It was fantastic. So I'm hoping that, you know, everyone will be just as supportive this year as they were over the last few years. You know what I mean? So it would be great.
Fair play to you for doing that. Like,
fantastic.
Like, I don't know. It is like what did you say? It stopped with you. Like, that's mad. Like, how much of an effect that you've had in this, and not just the town, because it's the butterfly effect. Like, it's people like you. You know, doing it in places like Turles or like the guy in Mullingar, like that's the stuff that makes real change. Like
that was Daniel is just fantastic. If you look up Mullingar, he is just so out there. He is just amazing, and he's going to be hosting Pride again this year. So 3rd year in a row, like, I mean, any of the acts we've had back this year. Unfortunately, our band that we had booked back last September messaged me there a few weeks ago and said they're double booked. So but we've just got a 5-piece band, and they're called Up the Walls. They're amazing, so they're going to be headlining our Pride at night time. The night band is going to be good, like, and we have a few alternative acts, is all I'd say, coming as well. So it's left to be discussed on another topic.
That's class.
It's what you call it, censored.
That's
not safe.
It's censored.
NSFW.
NSFW. Yeah. But so it's all going well.
That's class.
Yeah,
that's unreal. I don't know. Should we finish up now? Like, you to be somewhere, isn't it? So were you saying you were?
Oh yeah, we have a family fun day. That's why I have makeup on today. So you get to see this side of me now. Let's say that's why I have makeup on today. So we have family fun day out. My sisters can't wait. Big massive dragon bouncing castle and pit fires and barbecues and
link is in the description if you want to go. It's a free event.
I'll send the air code. You can all come out. It'll be like flogging the bog. You know what I mean? It'll be tried. Just bring a tent. Actually, the bouncing castle is there. It's 50 foot, so you just bring a few blankets. You're all right there, like there at night time.
A few weeks worth of food, you can work away.
But thanks for having me, lads. You're very good. Thanks for your support over the last few years. It's been fantastic. Like, and fair play to you as well. You know, it's not all about me, and I don't do Pride to get any gratification whatsoever. Like I said, if it's
nice to get it.
If it is nice to get, and it is, and I'm not going to lie, it is nice.
You deserve it.
It is nice to get recognised. As I'm sure Willie knows yourselves. Like, you know what I mean. It is nice to get recognised, and do you know what I mean. And it's important to the community, and that's what it's all about. And especially those in the younger generation and the older generation, because that's there too. Like, and I just want everyone to. Can I just mention one thing, if you don't mind? Actually, we know you know Pink is coming up anyway, so that's all. And we have a drag queen and a DJ as well, also that night as well. So, and some surprises on that night as well. That's next Saturday in Mrs. Croaks.
What day is that again? Saturday?
The 18th.
Saturday the 18th.
Saturday the 18th. Tickets are €15. You can buy them in Mrs. Croaks or on Eventbrite or
click
myself.
the link in the description.
Or on Eventbrite. So contact me, and there's actually a raffle on. I have a competition on Facebook now at the moment, so enter that. And then, so the next day after Pink, we have a sponsored walk by Shul I don't know if you know, called a shul. Shul, yeah. So basically, they do guided walks.
Yeah.
And it's sponsored by Sport and Pride Ireland.
Okay. Right.
And we're going to Grange.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah, so we're going up to Grange, we're walking up the mountains in Grange, and we encourage all families to come. If you have your own kids that are in the LGBTQ, or if they're from the LGBTQ, you don't even have to be from the LGBTQ community. Just come and support. And then after that, then there's a beautiful little coffee shop that's made out of a horse box. It's called the Coffee Coop.
Yeah.
So shout out to Danielle and the lads at the Coffee Coop. They're actually sponsoring Tipperary Pride this year.
That's really
Danielle's a fantastic baker. So anything that's Pride out in the Coffee Coop, all the money is going to Tipperary Pride. And so we're going there for drinks and coffee drinks after. So that's at 2:00 out in Grange next Sunday, the 19th.
And the 19th. That's the day after the
day after.
Cool.
So if anyone wants any information, just contact me.
Perfect. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thanks
I got it in there.
That's good. No, you need that.
And that was 2 things.
Yeah, thanks a million for coming on. We
Perfect.
appreciate the conversation, your bravery, and your wonderful energy and existence. Thanks for coming, and thanks for existing.
And thanks for making Torrance a very interesting
Yeah,
place.
exactly. Yeah, and thanks everyone for watching. You're lovely folks, and you're lovely people, or folks, whatever you want to be referred to as. You're all lovely, and yeah, thanks for watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify. And we'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
I love the taste of strawberry medicine as it runs down my neck. I feel it draw me in, and when it settles on my mind, just know you'll find me there inside.